Hi Groovers, Chris here from mtbtips.com. In this video I'm going to show you what riding with a good chain line is all about and why you should ride with a good chain line. But first let's go through what a bad chain line is. A bad chain line is when your chain has to cross over on the drive chain too much. An example here on my bike of a bad chain line is the chain sitting on the biggest gear at the back here and crossing over to the biggest chain ring at the front. The chain's got to go from that side and cross over to this side at the front. That's a definite mountain biking no-no. And the reason being is that it creates a lot more wear and tear for your chain, your gears, your derailleurs. It also makes a lot more noise. It really increases your risk of snapping the chain. And as well as that, it makes your whole drivetrain system operate a lot less efficient because there's a lot more friction going on, which means it might only be a little bit, but you've got to put more energy into the pedals to keep the same speed when you're riding with a bad chain line. But the biggest thing that a bad chain line does is it teaches you poor gear selection habits. Now, riding with a good chain line is basically the exact opposite. Rain's starting to come down here. Riding with a good chain line, it helps your drive chain operate as efficiently as it possibly can. It reduces the wear on your drive chain parts, your chain, your gears, your derailleurs, and makes your drive chain operate a lot quieter. And the number one thing that riding with a good chain line does is it changes your thinking. It makes you think better on the mountain bike. And the reason for this is, the reason why it makes you think better is because you'll have better options available to you. You'll be able to respond to what's coming up on the trail next a lot quicker. Now let me give you an example. Just say I'm riding at the back here with the chain in 8th or 9th gear, one of the smallest gears at the back here, and I'm riding on the granny gear at the front here. So I'm in 8th or 9th gear with the chain on the smallest chain ring at the front. I come round a corner and a few metres in front of me, all of a sudden there's a sharp pinch climb with roots strewn over it. Now all of a sudden I've got to change about 7 or 8 gears down to get back to 2nd gear to be able to get up that pinch climb. That's a lot of changing, and it's also a lot of twisting for the chain, and if you're trying to pedal at the same time as you're doing that, then that's a lot of extra stress on the chain and you could well snap it. Now riding with a good chain line would mean that you wouldn't be in that situation. You would be at, say, 4th gear at the back here and maybe in the middle gear at the front. Riding with a chain line, good chain line, also teaches you to change 2 derailleurs at the same time. So in the same scenario, as you come around the corner, steep climb, basically you'd operate 2 shifters at once. You'd change from 4th to 2nd at the back, and you'd change from middle to granny at the front, and away you go. You'd keep a lot more momentum and you'd be able to tackle the climb a lot better. 1. When you're in the granny gear at the front, only use the biggest 5 or 6 gears at the back. Rule number 2, when you're in the middle chain ring at the front, only use the middle 5 or 6 gears at the back. And rule number 3, when you're in the biggest chain ring at the front, only use the smallest 5 or 6 gears at the back. This will allow your drive chain to operate a lot more efficiently, and once you get used to riding with a good chain line, you'll realise that you enable yourself to have a lot more options out there on the trail. You'll be able to shift quicker. Often you'll be shifting 2 derailleurs at exactly the same time. Your chain won't need to shift as far to get to the gear you want, and you'll be able to, because of that, you'll be able to, because you're thinking quicker, you're thinking about shifting quicker, you'll actually ride quicker. You'll respond quicker to what's coming up next on the trail, which means you'll mountain bike better. That's the deal with riding with a good chain line. Try it out.